Hello, my name is Zach Rye with Old Man Gaming. It is July, and with July, it brings another state of play for Borderlands 3. And an interesting one it will be, but before that, have to introduce the one and only, the Build Master General himself.
Yo, what's up, old man? Philbilly 330 here, back again for this month's State of Play with Zach.
Yes. And now everybody out there has had plenty of time to see our other videos. We did a review on this. We did a first run on it, Philbilly's baby special show. So, yeah, let's just do first impressions right off the bat. What'd you think, Phil?
I did like the DLC. I thought the story was pretty good for
Okay.
the most part. The the patches that came with the DLC were good for the game. I don't know if I'd say it was my favorite DLC,
Right.
but I did like it.
Yeah, I did not hate it. I think that the writing team has been very good since the DLCs, like almost like they're making up for the writing in Borderlands 3. But I will say I feel like this one got better. It got a pass a little bit on some of the weaker story stuff because of the patches. So let's start with the patches. Just for everybody who doesn't know, which I'm sure you all know by now, basically they patched it. The patch that came along with this DLC, what it did was it scaled all of the action skill stuff, melee damage, butt slam damage, and supposedly vehicle damage, although I didn't notice that at all. But
yeah, I didn't either.
let's talk about the scaling first. They definitely scaled the action skills. I am a guy who built a Mose around Iron Bear and could not hang on Mayhem 2. Like I was barely trucking on Mayhem 2 before this patch. After this patch, I can run Mayhem 10. I still have a survivability issue when I'm not in the mech, but I did the entire DLC on Mayhem 10, and that was a lot of fun for me to have my build kind of validated in that way.
Yeah, for sure. Good for you. I didn't know you made it all the way through on M10.
Yeah, M10. I did it all on M10. There was some real rough parts, because as much fuel as I have with that build and as much armor as I have with that build, you still in those long fights eventually end up out of it, and then like 5 shots would do me in. So there was a lot of like sprinting and running, hiding behind things. I just couldn't find guns to really do the damage because of my build. So I don't know if that's just part of it. I mean, I'm still happy though. I got through the whole thing on Mayhem 10. I was very pleased with myself.
Nice.
So your thoughts on the scaling? What do you think?
I think that it was long needed for the game. I know they've made Amara's melee abilities relevant now, which is good because that was like a whole section of her character that was untapped.
Right.
Obviously, Moses Iron Bear is now viable. Flax pets actually do something like damage wise. I'm not saying they're like monsters, but
I mean, there's
help.
something, right? There's something. I mean, before really,
they matter were just what drawing aggro. That was all you were doing with them before.
Right. No matter what character you were playing, you were either using them to proc kill skills, you were using them to proc some sort of skill or draw aggro or something like that. You weren't using the action skills to do anything unless you were phase grasping with Amara, really.
Yeah, I'm assuming, I don't know much about Zane, but I'm assuming his Digiclone is usable now.
Yeah, Digiclone was pretty, as a guy who ran Digiclone with Zane, it was pretty useless before.
I do know his drone. I did hear about his drone is actually useful now. Yeah. Like it's used for more than just proccing his annoyance.
Well, and that was a big thing with him because he's all kill skills. So it was all about using the action skills to proc your kill skills. And that was it. you're just deploying stuff to do that stuff.
Yeah, and to proc the while drone is up anointments and stuff like that.
Right. So the idea behind this is to give the game a little bit more build diversity. What do you think? Do you feel like they did that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I definitely think that the game is in a better spot now
Yeah.
than it was. I feel like it's back to where I thought the game was more before Mayhem 2.0 came out.
Right.
Because, in my opinion, I'm not saying it was great before then, but I really felt that Mayhem 2.0 just took the game to a really crappy spot.
Well,
Like,
now that I've gotten to play with the Mayhems a lot more than I had before, I not a fan of Mayhem 2.0, and I really started to feel all the issues you had. None of my builds could run Mayhems by myself, so I really couldn't experiment with Mayhems. The only time I would experiment with Mayhems is when I was running with you,
yeah,
and that usually meant me getting killed a lot and you guys reviving me, which it's nice that I don't have to do that anymore. But now that I've experimented with them, I hate the idea that like you have to just sit there and roll the mayhem things over and
yeah,
over and over again until you get the right one. Like that's not fun to me.
dude. To be honest with you, I hate those. I do not like them at all, and I think it's proven pointless by the fact that you can sit there and re-roll them.
Right.
That's just showing that they aren't good. Because if they were good, you wouldn't have to do that.
I mean, at that point, just tell us every one you put in and let us pick them.
Yeah,
Like at that point, like make us pick one hard, make us pick one medium, make us pick one easy, or whatever the amounts are, and then just like let us pick them. Because you making us roll, we just sit there and roll until we get the right layout for our build. I mean, and everyone is different. For Moe's, I used freeze tag. I used the easy one that speeds me up when I get kills, and then I used oh man, there was one other one that I can't remember, through all of Bounty of Blood, and it just seemed to work really well because I could take out the freeze tag bubbles really fast if I just laid into it just a second longer, and the speed helped me with the mecha, and I can't remember what the hard one was, but still, like, but I had to sit there for 30 minutes to find an acceptable one.
yeah. Just like with flak, I always have to use that. The one where body shots do less damage, but critical hits do more. Obviously, because flak is all about critical hits.
Right.
It's just stupid. Like
It is.
as
It's
much
not
as
fun.
I don't think like in Borderlands 2 they had the OP levels, and everybody complained about it back then, including myself, that all it was just adding, uh, you know, health basically to enemies to enhance difficulty. Looking back, I almost like that better.
Right. I I mean, like, there's something about enemies just getting spongier and spongier that gets a little irritating, and that's just coming from, I think that's one of the biggest problems with Anthem. And I was a big Anthem guy, one of the few. I still own the damn thing, and I still play it every once in a while. And then I remind myself, oh, this is why I don't play it. But it had 4 levels of Grandmaster after hard difficulty, and all the Grandmaster is it would boost health and attack damage of the bad guys. So you would get these like foot soldiers, just little dudes walking around who had like 50,000 points of health. You just have to pour ammo in as a mech, and it actually kind of like takes you out of the game a little bit,
Yeah.
And I think so while I don't necessarily, I still think that's better than this though, because this takes me out of the game even more because it's all these weird floor is lava, big head mode, ridiculous.
Chain gang sucks.
Right.
The death one sucks because
Yeah.
you'll be in a fight and then out of nowhere behind you some skull comes and just instantly downs you.
Right. Right. Um, okay. Well, we got negative faster than I thought we were going to,
But what I was saying is like I feel like the game at least now is
yeah.
in a more playable state because I found it to be unplayable before.
Well, and as a casual player, I think the idea that they're no longer restricting something for me to do makes me want to play more, you know? And when you get those, like the way they had it before with the action skill cut off and stuff, like there were so many builds that you could do that were useless and you didn't realize it until you got later, you know? Uh, and the fact that making the action skill that way makes it so that, you know, you've got more builds. There are more people out there who are playing and just like putting points in who will be able to actually hang at the later levels, you know, especially if they're in a group, just be able to at least hang, you know. So that's nice. I think that's really nice. I think it's always bad for a game when they're like, hey, this like 8 levels, you'll never be able to do it because you're not good enough, you know.
Yeah. I
Um,
still think farming is a big issue, especially on
yeah,
console. Like that's what makes me not play the game as much as I used to
yeah,
because they raised the level caps by 3 and then you got to farm up all
right.
those new guns and it's just like I don't want to go kill whoever
17
150
times.
times again.
Well, and that's a big problem. The level capping thing, like they need to find a better solution than just forcing you to refarm out 3 levels of guns, you know. Because it's not like giving you 3 levels doesn't affect your build in any worthwhile way. But what it does is it makes your weapons useless if you're playing on the high mayhem difficulties, and
Yep.
that's mean. It's mean. And you know, I think back to when they first were making this game, and one guy kept saying, you know, we made this game to be fun. There's a lot of things that you do that's not fun for bigger players. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
and maybe some people like just spending hours upon hours farming and I did, but now that it's the fourth, fifth time I've had to do it, it's not fun anymore.
right, right. Okay, well, let's move on to the actual DLC itself. So, Bounty of Blood. I'm sure everybody's played it by now. We'll try and avoid some spoiler territories, but you end up on Gehenna, dealing with a very, very spaghetti western sort of feel.
Yeah.
So, you said you liked it, Phil. What'd you like about it?
I thought the enemy types were pretty cool. I thought
Mm-hmm.
that some of the guns that they brought in were cool, which Borderlands usually has pretty cool guns, to be
Yeah,
honest. I mean, they brought back the Herald. It's a little different than in Borderlands 2, but it's still a good gun. They the only thing I felt like some of the areas were a little vast and empty.
yeah, yeah.
That was like the only thing I didn't care about it. I know a lot of people like the vehicles. I just have trouble liking vehicles in Borderlands, period.
Yeah, I don't know
And
how anybody liked those vehicles. They were, I did not like them at all. But yeah,
part of it may be I never put any Guardian points into my vehicle because
right,
like I said, I don't like them. So I
right,
figured why waste the points.
right,
So maybe if I had, then the vehicles would feel better. Like
right,
wouldn't feel like weaker than me.
right, right,
But yeah, I don't know. It looked cool, the hover bike thingy.
right. Uh, yeah, yeah, I did. I don't know. I just, I would have. I think one missed opportunity. I really wanted to ride one of those devils. Not gonna
Yeah, I
lie.
know.
And not to spoil it for anybody out there, you don't ever get to ride one of those devils, and that is a real bummer. Like I really wanted a pet devil by the time we got to the end of this. And I think if you could have had a pet devil, this one would have been a winner with a bullet with me. But I actually kind of felt like the DLC, like when I first started playing in the first run, you can hear me. I'm just so happy. But I'm happy because my action skill works, you know? Uh, Once I had time with this DLC to get through it all, I kind of felt like it fell flat in some places. And that was kind of a bummer to me. Like it builds up to something that never really happens. There's a lot of like potential twists that they just kind of leave you hanging on. And everything's very run of the mill, and that's okay. That's not necessarily bad. It doesn't always have to be a twist. Doesn't always have to like harken back to the other stuff. But there's one twist that you can very obviously see that they meant as a twist, and it just kind of fell completely flat on me.
Yeah, because you pick it up like halfway through the DLC.
You pick it up, and even if you didn't pick it up when you realize it, you're like, okay, so like it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? I did like the enemy types. I'm totally with you on that one. The guns are very cool. I thought some of the areas were pretty vast myself. I will say what really hit for me, like where the main quests kind of fell flat for me, the side quests were so cool. I love the monster hunting ones.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the hunting down the different members of the gang ones, and I love the narrator. The narrator does a great job. Like just for everybody to know, if you haven't played, which I don't know why you're listening to this and you haven't played yet, but basically there's a old school Western narrator who's just narrating the whole thing the whole time. He's very good, very good dialogue for him. And he does all the side quests too. And I thought it would have been real easy for him to just not talk during the side quests, but he has something to say on every one of the side quests too. And that like really hit home for me. I thought that was the coolest part, was the narrator all the way around. Narrator. And I'm a little bit less excited about the music just because there's a huge section in the game where the music is awful, and it took me down from all the cool music that you had for the rest of the game. I don't know if you agree with me on this, Phil, but that factory section was such a dreary, like, slog.
Yeah, that it didn't fit like the other parts of the game had like that fiddle with the every time you got in a battle you could hear the fiddle like ramping up. It just sounded cool.
Yeah, and if they had just even left that into the factory, but they don't. The factory music is real flat, and it was like my review was done from a standpoint of like right before I went into the factory. So like I was expecting more twists, and I was expecting more like stuff with but the factory was just so flat on the music. It was such a missed opportunity, and it's such a big section. You're in there for like an hour of that DLC.
Yeah.
There's so much to do in there that like by the end of it, it was making me drowsy. But other than that, I did like the music. It was just that section was a real slog to me. I like the monster hunting. I like the side quest. The main story kind of fell a little flat to me. And I think it gets a little bit of a pass on the other reviews just because of those patches has made the game feel so much better.
Yeah, I agree.
So let me ask you this. Of the 3 DLCs that have released so far, not the takedowns, just the 3 DLCs, which one's your favorite?
My order probably goes Handsome Jackpot, Bounty of Blood, and then the Guns, Love, and Tentacles.
Guns, Love, and Tentacles. The only thing I would switch about that, I think Handsome Jackpot, number 1 with a bullet. Like, that was such a great DLC. Like, I know the gameplay itself was in kind of a worse state back then, but the DLC itself, like, captures Borderlands, just perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, I felt Borderlands 2 in that, that kind of magic. I actually liked Guns, Love, and Tentacles a little bit better than this one, just because I thought the world and the boss battles were a little bit more original. I felt like you had these really cool boss battles in the first 2 DLCs, and this one didn't really have any interesting boss battles, in my opinion. There was 4 boss battles, and they were basically like, it comes out, it lights up the screen, you shoot it with everything you got, and it dies. Like, Whereas I thought there was some really interesting boss battles in the Guns, Love, and Tentacles, and I liked that. Same with Handsome Jack. That kind of got me a little bit better than this one.
Yeah, because they did. Well, see, I don't know what they were. I think in this one they might have been like, "Oh, everyone hates immunity
Yeah,
phases, so
yeah.
we're not gonna do it."
That is
Which,
exactly what it feels like. It feels
which
like a knee-jerk reaction to that.
I agree with to a point. But the kind of cool thing about the other DLC boss battles is they did immunity phases, but they did them in unique ways, so
Right.
it didn't feel as crappy. But the other side of that coin, because what they would do was they would like, it wasn't necessarily immunity phase, it was the guy would like move or something, like he would move too far away and you'd have to fight through a small horde to get back to him.
Right.
And in this one they didn't do that. But the other side of the coin is, for farming purposes, it's it sucks to have any kind of immunity phase, because if you got to kill that thing 50 freaking times to get a drop, then you don't want to have to spend, 10 minutes in the fight when you could melt it in a minute or two.
You are completely right on that subject. I don't disagree with that. Just because it's made even kind of worse with the way farming is handled in Borderlands 3, because it's such a like, you got to fight this boss 40 times.
Yeah, because you're going
worse.
after guns with parts and then anointments, and then the fact that, I don't care what anyone says, some of the anointments in the game, no one's going to use those, not in a high-end build.
Yeah. Like the ones that, like, if you're jumping, you get extra damage.
Airborne, sliding.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem with the game right now, in my opinion, is there's just so much garbage to wade through to get to the goodness. Like it's all very pretty, but at the end of the day, we don't need it all. Strip it down and just give everybody what they need. And as far as the immunity states go, I agree with you. I think there should be some kind of switch that once you've completed the game, you can turn off the immunity states,
Yeah, or even if it was automatic, like after the first time you killed that boss, it no longer has those immunity phases.
Right. Just to make the fight interesting, because I will say I get your point from a farming standpoint, but to go the other direction from the cinematic trying to have fun point, it's not fun to fight a boss and kill him in 42 seconds flat,
No, not a first run. Right. That's why I think that would be the solution, is have the long drawn out first boss fight, and then when you go back and fight him or her or it just has, the health bar and the shield or whatever, and that you have to get through.
Right. All right. Well, I think we've covered everything. We can probably start wrapping it up. I don't think there's anything on the roadmap right now anytime soon, though. The Bounty of Blood was the last thing on their last roadmap. We know that there's a 4th DLC. We know that it has Krieg in it. Sorry, everybody. When we talked last time, we got them mixed up.
Yeah, we misspoke.
Yeah, we definitely misspoke on that. But and that's my bad. I was the one who brought that information here. I put them together because they announced it at the same time, and that was my bad. But we do know that the 4th DLC will have Krieg. Other than that, we don't know anything else about it. And there's no other takedowns announced. There's no other events announced. It's all quiet on the Borderlands front. And I'm actually a little worried about that. Not going to lie. I mean, they're still doing patches and updates, but to not have any content on the docket, and we don't have any sort of date for the 4th DLC, worries me a little bit, honestly.
Yeah, and the one thing I did want to touch on real quick, on our last state of play, somebody in the comments, I can't remember, I'm sorry if you're listening to this, who it was exactly.
I can look it up real quick. Just you keep talking. I'll look it up.
Yeah, he mentioned something about he wanted us to say, I think his question was, what would we do with level advancement? I believe. Check it out if you're there.
Yeah, I'm looking at. I'm going into YouTube Studio right now. Sorry, everybody listening. I forgot all about this, but he's completely right. I just got to find the video, and then I can bring up the comments directly about it. Second here. So review state of. Was it? There it is. State of play for June. Comments.
I think it had something to do with what we thought about the level cap increases.
Old Man Gaming. It was a user Cold Heart, and it said Old Man Gaming in the next vid. You guys should talk about level increases. How would you guys make them better? So, is he talking about Mayhem, or is he talking about just like?
No, I think he's talking about how they keep doing 3 level increases.
Okay. All right. Well, you wanna take a swing at that, because I definitely have a idea.
Yeah, like to be honest with you, I don't know if I'd touch them, because when they talked about giving us other skill trees, which would warrant, they talked about this at launch, which would warrant needing more points to build out your character, because you might have, 4 trees with points invested into each one potentially. But they haven't done that, and this may sound negative, but I don't even see them doing it. I don't think they're going to. So at this point, in my opinion, leave it alone. Stop trying to force people to refarm for 3 levels, or they should have done it, but it's too late for this. They should have done it like they did in the other Borderlands, where you went from level 52 to 60 to 70. The end, like that was 3 level jumps. They were significant and made a change in your build loadout, and you had to refarm, but it was only 3 times, and it felt worth it every time, because you were getting a substantial difference in that weapon or that armor or shield or that grenade or class mod or what have you. Not these little minuscule bonuses that are just big enough to make it not viable to run the 3 level lower weapon because of the mayhem modes. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah. I don't think that they should be giving us any more. I think they should just balance what they have, honestly.
But unfortunately, I think they're going to continue to do this, which this is very unfortunate for me, but it makes me like, it has turned me into a casual Borderlands player for now. This is what I think is going to happen with me. I'm going to play the DLCs and stuff like that. And then what's going to happen is, when they finally stop, so like probably after DLC 4, they will stop screwing with level caps. Then I will get back heavy into the game and start building, new build loadouts and stuff like that, and make some like really meta, maybe unique builds again, like I used to have the passion for. But what's happened to me is, I get tired of spending so much time doing that for it to be null and void in 2 weeks when they decide to drop a 3 level cap increase.
Yeah, I agree. That 3 level cap increase is literally just to get you to farm again, just to make you stay in the game for a little bit longer. and
I feel like it
seems
pushed
kind of
people out.
Yeah, it's insidious. It's insidious in its design. It's not meant to be fun. It's not meant to make you happy. It's meant to just be a hook for somebody who's basically addicted to having the best stuff in a game, you know? And that's irritating. That's really irritating to me. Cold Heart, in my opinion, I would have never screwed with the levels in the first place. I would have found a good, like in this day and age, like it was when you had Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 1, you were up in those level caps, but you weren't doing the games like you do now. In my opinion, I would take a page out of like either Destiny or Division 2's book, and I would have just a firm level cap, and then I would just keep doing end game content for people. Make it more about like, I would make it less about just like constantly farming shit, but make your build and then be done with your build. I would also, right off the bat, make loadouts. And for what I mean by that is I would have, like, every time you want to remake a character, you've got to respec that character, or you have to start another character and level him all the way up to level 60. What I would do is I would have it, once you get a character to a certain level, you can spec the points that you have any way you want, and you can save it to a loadout, and then you can go back to your new me and just switch it out whenever you want to change it up. That would be a big thing for me, and that would encourage people to keep creating new builds. The way it is right now, if once you get done with a build, if you want to make another build, you have to like go do the game all over again, and that's ridiculous. Or completely respec it and just try and remember what you had before. So I don't think people necessarily need those extra 3 levels or 6 levels. I think they would have been fine with the original amount of levels if you had the build diversity correctly balanced, first of all, and if you had like loadouts and you kind of supported a way for these people to kind of play with it more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or they should have stopped at, what was it, 57, let you get 2 capstones.
Yeah.
Like that was, to me, that was like, okay, that's a good place. You can
Right.
you can max out 2 trees to get 2 capstones, or you could spread those points around and only have 1. You know, whatever, you could play
Right.
with it. But to me, there's no point in going from 57 to 60.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. So hope that helps, Cold Heart. Thanks for the question. We always appreciate the comments here.
Yeah, and let us know what you think. What do you think? What would you do?
Yeah, what would you do? We'd love to hear what you would do. And we'll definitely be back in August for another State of Play, although I don't know what we're going to be saying. So please give us your comments, because I don't know what we're going to have to talk about.
Yeah, as of now, I don't know if anything, like you said, I don't think anything big is on the radar.
I don't think anything's big on the radar. So
when is DLC 4? Do you know, Zach?
There's no date. There's no date.
Oh.
At least last time I checked, there was no date. They just said fall. So it could be anywhere from late August to early November. So
I bet you
have no
it'll
idea.
drop at like the 1 year mark.
Yeah. That's a good guess. But I did not have my timer running, so I don't know how long we are. So I think we need to wrap this up. Philbilly, Build Master General, thank you for being on the show and lending your superior intellect on this subject.
No problem.
As for everybody out there, we're going to see you again next month, hopefully. And if you guys like this, we have a ton of content on the channel. Like and subscribe. You can also check us out on Facebook at OhManGamingDH, on Twitter at OhManGaming9. You can check us out on Discord. The link is in the description below. We'd love to hear from you, good, bad, negative, whatever. Love to hear your comments. Love to talk to you. I try to respond to everything. So yeah, and as long as you guys keep watching and listening to these, we will keep making them. See you guys next week or next month.
Later, old man fam.